Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Unforgettable Podcast. At the time of this recording, it is Thanksgiving week. I have been working my tail off trying to get ahead on work so that I can relax and chill on Thursday. I remember a few years ago on Thanksgiving Day, I would keep my phone on me in case somebody wanted to go look at a house. I remember one year I put a house on the market on Christmas Eve. The way I would never do that now, it's just so wild to me. Like, it's something that I wouldn't even consider at this phase in my life. And to be totally honest, I don't know if I would want to work with clients that would want to go look at houses on Thanksgiving Day and on Christmas, because I find that the clients that have the same values as I do are typically the best clients. And I want to work with people that put family first and put rest and priority. Make rest a priority. And make rest a priority. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, that segues so perfectly into today's episode. So we're going to talk all about identity and stepping into a new identity, stepping into your next self, future self, whatever it is that you want to call it. I feel like the buzzword right now is future self. So if that's how you want to call it, then you go right ahead. Now, I'm going to be totally transparent. This has been an extremely hard concept for me to jump on board with as someone who has always self-identified as a hard worker by nature. You know, I started working when I was 12, and I put in longer hours than anybody else. I showed up earlier. I stayed later. Like, that was my winning strategy. If you have read The Final Word on Power by Tracy Goss, I read it around this time last year in 2024, and I actually plan on reading it again. I'm finishing up Robert Greene's book called Mastery. Robert Greene is very controversial, but I love his work. I think it is the 48 Laws of Power. It has been banned in a lot of U.S. prisons because prisoners have used it to manipulate guards, but I find it really fascinating. Some of it, yes, is manipulative, but I think that things like laws of power not only need to be known by the good people, or by the bad people, but the good people as well. And his book, Mastery, it's definitely not as like, ooh, this is kind of scary, but it's been really good. Anyways, all that to say, as soon as I finish that up, I think I have like 60 pages left, I'm going to reread The Final Word on Power by Tracy Goss. I don't know if she intended for this to happen, but 48 Laws of Power and The Final Word on Power, they have almost the exact same cover. And so I need to do some research. I wonder if there was ever a little tiff between Tracy and Robert. But in the book, she talks about how we all have a winning strategy. And our winning strategy is what helps us win. So it is what has typically gotten us to the point in life where we are. It is what we fall back on. It is what we learned from our childhood. It is our mental mapping and way of doing things. So my winning strategy was to work harder than everyone else, to put in more hours than everyone else. Like, that was my identity. I identified as a hard worker. Work hard, work harder. Now, I'm going to, if you need to read the book, but if you don't read the book, this is the method to find your winning strategy. This is straight from the book. So the phrase is, in order to win, I must always blank, because what I fear most is blank. So I avoid this at all costs. So it is your floor, it's like your standards, but if you're not careful, your winning strategy is what is going to hold you back. And that is what she goes deep into in the book. She goes through 7 phases of reinvention, or maybe it's 7 steps of reinvention. It's really phenomenal. If you haven't read it, highly recommend. Okay, so my winning strategy for 31 years of my life was work really hard in school, work really hard at restaurants, work really hard in real estate. When I started this podcast, I worked really hard. Like, I felt like everything, if something wasn't hard, I didn't feel like it was worth doing. I almost felt ashamed. And if it worked, like if I made money off of it, if, it worked out how I wanted, I was like embarrassed almost. And this year, I have put myself in a lot of different rooms. I've put myself in a lot of uncomfortable situations. And one thing I have found is that winners expect to win. And there is this expectation from people who are really winning that they're just going to win. And yes, they still work hard, but they allow the things that are easy to just be easy. And so for me at this point, when I think about something like content, I have thought about creating content. I'm like, this has to be hard. Like, I have to make it hard in order for it to be meaningful. I have to make it hard in order for it to matter. But when I think about content, I am a decade in creating content. I literally started my first online boutique a decade ago, almost 11 years now. And so for me at this point, creating content should not be hard. It is just something that's ingrained in me. And that's something I've really had to shift this year with my identity in terms of like, I can allow things to be easy and it is okay. This year, I've worked a lot on skills. I've worked a lot on leverage. I've worked a lot on setting boundaries, not being chained to my calendar, like breaking the rules in terms of how I thought things needed to be. And I'll be super honest, I did all of that work for several months. I was in all these coaching programs. I was in all this stuff. I was working hard. I was, learning new skills. I was trying new things, but something wasn't clicking. And I'll tell you this, the first 6 months of this year were basically hell for me. Because I wasn't doing the identity work. I was simply just going back to my winning strategy of working harder. I'm learning these marketing skills. I'm working harder. I'm learning these sales skills. I'm working harder. Like all of this stuff, I was definitely trying something different, but I wasn't doing it from a different identity. I was doing it from the same identity that I'd always had, where it's like, well, you just work harder. You learn something new and then you work harder. You try something new and then you work harder. And it was so funny because I love to journal. I'm a journaling girl, and it wasn't until like August, September, so not really that long ago, that I had this realization that I can learn all the skills in the world and I can practice all the things and do all the things and try all the new things. And if I don't change my perception of myself, I am just going to go back to where I was before. Yeah, I might be making more money. Yeah, I might be in a different house. Yeah, I might have an office. Yeah, I might have a podcast. But internally, I'm going to feel the same way if I don't shift my identity. So, okay, I have this identity that has served me for 30 plus years, 31 years of being the hardest worker in the room. And then I switched to this more like strategic and skilled mindset, but I didn't give my identity time to like catch up, become familiar with it, and it was really rocky and really rough. So there were a couple months there where my life was changing super drastically. Like things were happening very quickly, and because I wasn't doing any identity work, I wasn't working on changing my perception of myself, my perception of my thoughts and my actions, and like allowing things to be easy, I was unknowingly self-sabotaging. And it's so funny because I've talked about this on the podcast before, where I have gone through seasons of realizing that I was self-sabotaging and becoming aware of it, but it's almost like every level that you get to, you encounter new problems, and a lot of the problems that you encounter aren't a lack of skill. It is another identity shift that you have to go through. It's just so wild how many identity shifts that you have to go through in a lifetime. And I think and you probably relate to this because you're on this podcast or YouTube channel, wherever you're listening or watching. If you are a high achiever, if you are someone who is constantly striving to grow, you experience identity shifts and like identity misalignment so quickly because you're constantly shooting for the next massive goal that like you literally do not give yourself time to catch up. And that's why it hits so hard. So for me this year, learning skills, practicing leverage, putting boundaries in place, all this stuff, I'll be super honest, I have felt so lazy this year. Like that has been a huge form of guilt that I've experienced, is like I have felt so lazy. I'm not out showing houses at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I'm not like getting up early to work on a Saturday morning. I'm not like working 12-hour days. Well, right now I am, but there were, several months there where I was like really heavy on shifting the way that I worked, and I felt so lazy. And it's crazy because when I look back at my calendar and I look at my, sales and everything I've accomplished this year, I'm like, girl, what? Like you're the farthest thing from lazy. But internally, because I hadn't given myself time to shift that identity and that self-perception, and I hadn't done any work on it, I was just so focused on like getting to the next level and integrating all of these new boundaries and systems and skills. It really caught up to me to the point where I was like a little depressed. Because I'm like, man, I am so lazy. It felt like I was doing all this work and putting in all this effort to go backwards. So over the last couple of months, I have done a lot of reflecting, a lot of journaling, a lot of reading, a lot of therapy, a lot of stepping outside of my comfort zone, working on changing my winning strategy. That's why I want to read the book again, because I want to go into 2026 like crystal clear on what my new winning strategy is. And I have been doing a lot of identity work. Now, when I say identity work, if you are like me, you're probably like, okay, this is super vague. This sounds really fluffy, but it truly is the most important work that you can do, because you can make all of these like action changes and these behavioral changes and all this stuff. But if you don't work on your identity at the same time, or more so, you can really put yourself in a pickle. Okay. I've talked enough about myself. You always know, if you come here, you're going to get some actionable tips. So these are not like I'm an expert at this. This is exactly what you should do. These are just 3 things that I personally have been practicing the last 2 months, and they've helped me immensely. Okay, tip number 1 is I cleaned up my environment. So not just my car or my office, which I have done. I've thrown so much away that just doesn't align with where I'm at, and it feels so good. But not just that, but like my social media accounts, my music. I am a creature of habit and a creature of familiarity. So I basically stopped downloading new songs at 18 years old. I just don't think that they make good music anymore. I know every generation says that, but I'm like, I don't want to learn new music. I want to listen to Lil Wayne and Lil Boosie and Shania Twain. Okay, I'm done. But I have really been intentional the last couple of weeks about ensuring that I'm listening to music that this new version of me would listen to. So I'm not listening to a lot of like depressing music or like music with a lot of cussing. I am a cuss word girl, okay? There's definitely no judgment. But I am really trying to elevate myself in this season, and so I'm trying to listen to music that is more elevated. I'm trying to follow accounts on social media that are more elevated. I'm trying to read books that are more elevated. So I'm kind of reading books that are like a little bit of a stretch for me. I definitely fall into a comfortable range with certain books, and that's why reading books like Robert Greene's Mastery, I'm really pushing myself because it's a challenging book. So I've just been really careful about everything that I am ingesting, not just food, but, podcasts, audiobooks, books, the people that I spend time with, social media, all the things. I'm so careful. And it seems like such a small step, but it has been really impactful. And to me, it has made one of the biggest differences because I feel like I'm surrounding myself with winning people. And I don't mean to sound insensitive when I say winning people, because it makes it sound like there are people that are winning and there are people that are losing, but I mean like a winning mindset. Like I want to be around people that could be having the worst day of their life and they're like, okay, what is the lesson in this? Like, where's the silver lining? That is what I mean when I say surrounding myself with winners. Okay, number 2, I have been practicing gratitude more than ever. I know this might sound corny, but when I stop and think about it, when I think about where I want to be, if I'm like, okay, if I was where I wanted to be income wise, career wise, like I would be so excited. If I woke up and there was a certain amount of money in my bank account, if I had a certain amount of followers on social media, I would be over the freaking moon when I tell you I would be so excited. And I would take certain actions. I would create more content. I would be more bold if I already had those things in place. And so I am practicing gratitude for what I have now so that I can get in that excitement so that I inevitably take those actions that I need to take in order to get to where I want to be. Does that make any sense? Like, I want to get in the mindset now so that it feels like I've already hit my goals, because for me, when I hit a goal, that is when I'm the most excited and the most pumped up and the most ready to go. And so every single day, I am like so thankful for my house and my husband and my office and my opportunities. Like, I have just been practicing being so grateful for what I do have, in the hopes that that gratitude will become ingrained in my mindset and I will feel like I'm already at my goals, so that I will take the actions that I would if I was already at my goals. Now, this could potentially backfire if you're someone who is complacent. If you're someone who sets a goal and then you're like, okay, checked off, done with that. For me personally, and if you are like me, where when I hit a goal, I'm like, okay, baby, what's next? This works. Okay, and then number 3, but this one ties along with number 2, but I do think that it requires its own acknowledgement because it is kind of in a little bit of a different bucket, and it is the hardest for me, but I have been taking it really easy on myself. I love a big goal. I love to set a big goal. I love constantly striving for more in life, but one of my biggest downfalls is that I set massive goals and then I am left feeling like I am standing at the bottom of Mount Everest. It feels extremely overwhelming. All I can look at is 6 months of hard work, 4 months of hard work, a year of hard work. And I tend to want to rush and panic, and I don't enjoy the process, and as a result, I don't get the best results. So while, yes, I still want to set really big goals, I have been trying to be so easy on myself and be so intentional about looking at my goals in my life one day at a time. So yes, set the big goals, have the big dreams, but then zoom in and look at one day. And so instead of piling things on my list, which it might look like if you look at my list, but I break everything down so small. I'm like, sustainably, what can I get done today? How much of myself can I give to other people? How much of myself can I not give to other people? How much can I not get done today? And then finding a balance in the middle. It's not always perfect. I'm definitely still working on this. I feel like this is something that I'm going to work on for the rest of my life. But I used to be so, I'll do whatever. Yes, add that to my list. And then it did not matter what my capacity was that day. I was like, I've got to get all this done. And so that was why I was waking up at 5:30 in the morning and I was going to bed at 11 o'clock at night, and I was working every single second in that time period. And that's just not the kind of life that I want anymore. I don't want to live to work. I want to work to live. And I think that's it. Yeah, I think I got that right. And so I have just been really careful about I have about 4 to 6 hours of focused work. I'm not meaning getting up, get ready, drive, lunch break, coffee. I mean 4 to 6 hours of I am head down, boom, 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 grinding. I literally have about 4 to 6 hours of that. And so acknowledging that and being okay with it and giving it my all those 4 to 6 hours, and then giving myself grace the rest of the day that I'm a human being and I want to spend time with my husband and time with my friends, and I want to read books, and I want to, work out for fun, and I want to travel. it has been really impactful for me in terms of getting more done. My work is better. The quality of my work is better. I'm a better agent. I'm a better content creator. I'm more creative. Like all of these ideas are coming from me because I'm not like so aggressive with myself. So it's been very challenging. It's a work in progress, but I am working on that. Okay, that is all I have for you today. I am working on podcast episodes for the rest of the year and into 2026. If you have been here from the beginning, I have changed this podcast style 1,000 times, and I'll probably change it 1,000 more times. You're just along for the ride, okay? This is going to be on YouTube as well. I'm going to start trying to be more intentional about YouTube because I feel like the podcast has helped me so much in terms of creating a bank of my voice that I can share with people, and I want a bank of my face. So yeah, there's a lot of like really intentional work going on behind the scenes. Thank you if you are sticking with me from the beginning. If you are brand new here, hello. I am in a glow up season, in a glow up era. And yeah, there's a lot of fun changes coming soon. Okay. Leave me a 5-star review or 4. Please don't leave a 3. Share this episode with a friend and make sure you subscribe either over on Apple or Spotify or YouTube, wherever you are ingesting this. And I will see you in the next episode.